And welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in this winter edition of Let's Talk Nutrition. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're safe and coping with this terrible weather. Just went to was it AP or the Weather Channel? It was the Weather Channel?
Weather Channel.
And we have the latest update on the death toll. Yes, death toll. We'll talk about that. It's unabating, boy.
Did you ever think you'd be reporting on the death toll of winter from Florida, in Florida?
No. Terrible. This happens. Yesterday, I misspoke. There was some good Samaritan bought 70 hotel rooms. I said Manhattan. It was Chicago. They were homeless people. And what happened was they were out in the weather, and they had these propane tanks. And I guess the authorities, the city, came in and confiscated them because they thought it was a hazard. And these folks were left without heat. And so some good Samaritan bought 70 hotel rooms for these folks. Pretty nice, right? You know, I've spent my share of time in Manhattan, and I've seen, you see terrible things with the homeless, these poor souls. I mean, sleeping on the grates, church steps, huddled in a corner. What's the name? Is that St. Patrick's?
Yeah.
I've even seen them there. They're just, it's desperate. Never mind Central Park. So, we're all in it together, and we got to help one another. And you just see so many homeless people, and you just, you wonder what's the story? What happened? How did that person end up this way? What happened? I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit, the weather. If you want to, anytime you want to participate in the conversation, not only do I invite you, I ask you, I beseech you to do it. Please call the show, contact us through Messenger on Facebook. We have all kinds of ways. Gary can share with you how we're doing this, and we're trying to even improve it. Even we are on the cutting edge of all the technology to do this. And right behind me, what you see is a scene of...
That's Live Chicago right there.
There you go. Live. Amazing. I love the technology. We can use it to make the show more entertaining, to be more informative, more compelling, meaningful. Here's how to connect.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. Dr. Garko's personal email is drgarko@letstalknutrition.com. You can also reach us on the web through Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition on Facebook, on Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition, and you can also go to our YouTube page. We're over 59,000 views now. 59,000 views.
We're getting close to 60.
60.
So that scene behind me, you got that through EarthCam?
Yes, sir.
It's pretty cool. Terrible to report this. Sad. It's sad. Iowa student, he died after he was found unconscious. They found him outside. It was minus 51 degree wind chill weather. It was an 18-year-old University of Iowa student. Died after he was found unresponsive outside of a campus building. Wind chills as frigid as they said, 51 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. My Lord. His name was Gerald Bells. He was a second-year pre-med student from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Was found by the campus police near Halsey Hall at 2:48 a.m. on Wednesday. It's a 6-minute walk from his residence at Burge Hall and the Iowa City Press Citizen reports.
Campus
6
police
minute
found the
walk.
18-year-old
Didn't
early
make it.
this morning and say his death
He
appears
didn't make
to
it.
be weather-related. Gerald Bells was found
The unconscious
unresponsive.
young man was transported to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead. Investigators have not released Bell's official cause of death, but they believe it was weather-related. Of course it was. Foul play is not suspected. Nice young boy. Look at him. Aw. It's sad. It's so sad. The father, Michael Bells, told KCRG that doctors confirmed no traces of alcohol in his system at the time of his death. He also told the station his son was communicating with his girlfriend via Snapchat late on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning and had indicated he was going to bed. The outdoor temperature was 22 degrees Fahrenheit below zero, with a wind chill of 51 below zero at the time he was found. A wind chill of just minus 25 can freeze the skin within 15 minutes. The National Weather Service in Des Moines said on Tuesday that, quote, this is the coldest air many of us will have ever experienced, close quote, and warned that those who go outside should, quote, avoid taking deep breaths, minimize talking to protect themselves. This young man's death, Bell, is the 8th fatality across multiple states linked to the bitterly cold weather in the Midwest. That's just in the Midwest. I have more to report on this. It turns out that right now, as of how many minutes ago?
Probably about 5 now.
Extreme cold weather, we now have 21 fatalities. Extreme cold hits Midwest and Northeast. 21 fatalities. As per the latest report, at least 21 people are killed as the polar vortex continues to freeze the U.S. Midwest. It has this vortex, they call it a polar vortex, has continued to have its grip on the Midwest. As yesterday was with the coldest Arctic air in decades. It's colder there than it is in the Arctic. At least 10 people are dead as a result of the bitter cold. Widespread school closures continue. Thousands of flights are grounded, and mail delivery is still on hold in some states until the temperatures come back to some safe level. A homeless man, talking about the homeless, he was pronounced dead, found dead, frozen to death. What a terrible way to die. Frozen to death yesterday morning. And where? Where was he? Poor thing he went to a bus shelter. They don't provide much shelter. This was in Williamsville in Amherst, New York. Gary Salmon, 70, of Ecorse, Michigan, was found dead outside his home Wednesday, according to WILX.com. He wasn't dressed properly, they said, for the cold and had no hat or gloves on. In Detroit, a 70-year-old man was also found dead in front of a neighbor's home on Wednesday. The cold, you see how the cold, it can overcome you. It just, a 60-year-old man was found on Wednesday outdoors in East Lansing. And then, of course, Gerald, that I just reported on, Gerald Bells. He was only 18, for goodness sake. A 38-year-old woman found frozen in her unheated apartment Wednesday. Nobody looking out for her. An 82-year-old Peoria County, Illinois man, we're in Peoria, was found dead after he tripped and fell outside his home and fell victim to the cold temperature. I could go on and on. An unidentified 87-year-old woman, a 22-year-old. It goes on and on. These are dreadful stories. Please, please be careful. Take care. If you're listening to this show and we're reaching you, take care of those people, will you please? shot on, Gary. So we're talking about polar vortex that has just descended upon the upper Midwest and the Northeast. So I said to Gary, I said, a polar vortex, what exactly is that? So went to AccuWeather.com and we'll show you an image of a polar vortex. It's a large, what it is, this is not a new phenomenon. This is just something that the meteorologists discovered. It's been talked in meteorology for decades. It's a large pocket of very cold air, typically the coldest air in the northern hemisphere, which will sit over the polar region during the winter season. Okay? And if you look at the image that we have up on the screen, you can see that. Frigid air will find its way into the United States when the polar vortex is pushed farther south. It'll reach southern Canada and then the northern plains, Midwest, and then northeastern portions of the country. You can see it pushing down. A large, powerful, high-pressure system originating in the eastern or western Pacific and stretching to the North Pole is required to displace the pocket of cold air. Boy, this is intriguing. This is a lesson in physics and weather here. So you need an eastern or western Pacific high pressure system. These high pressure systems can reach Alaska, but it's not typical to stretch all the way to the North Pole, they said. Vortex is capable of delivering sub-zero temperatures. Well, we now know that. Into the U.S. and Canada for several days at a time, and we know that as well. When the strong air from the eastern or western Pacific weakens and falls apart, the vortex will retreat back from where it came, the North Pole. 877-897-8255. That's an interesting image. Now, you may be wondering, well, how do people and how should people keep warm during, these terrible frigid temperatures? There are any number of myths. There are some common myths, and there's some tips that we can take. I went to the Toronto City News.ca, giving them attribution. Talked about some myths. Body heat isn't lost through the head. According to the University of Rochester, there is nothing special about your head. You'll lose body heat from any part of your body that is exposed, close quote. You often hear people say that, but you do need to wear a hat to keep your head warm. It's not because the head is just escaping out the roof, so to speak. But it's a good idea to wear the hat. Being cold won't give you a cold. I've talked about that on the show. I won't even go there anymore. We're done with that. Viruses give you a cold. Now, the cold weather is a stressor, and it can affect your immune system, right? And if you're going to be exposed to severe cold weather for an extended period of time, you'll probably die from exposure before the immune system fails. Nevertheless, drinking alcohol, so much for a hot toddy, won't make you warmer. Grabbing what's a beer coat? Beer coat?
I don't know.
Alcohol may make you feel warmer, but alcohol, if you want to know, lowers body temperature. Alcohol makes the blood vessels do what? Constrict. If you constrict the blood vessels, that means you don't have more volume of blood pumping through the arterial system, which the constricting of the blood vessels leads to a brief feeling of warm skin. However, it actually means you're losing body heat. Interesting, right? How about that fireplace? Let's fire, Martha, let's get that fireplace roaring. Well, it may warm the cockles of your heart, but it's not going to, no. Other than that, not so much. The closer you are to the fire, the warmer you feel. Of course, an open hearth fireplace actually acts as a vacuum, and it sucks the warm air from your home. Who knew? I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No.
We're here to learn.
I'm glad you said something because we have a wood burning stove up at the cabin. So,
well, you need to have heat in that cabin, so that wood burning stove is going to generate heat for the cabin. Yeah, I would not put that on. I would log that thing up.
Yeah, log it up.
Absolutely. Cotton is not a good insulator.
Ooh.
Because when it gets wet, it conducts heat away from the body. That's why you have all these 21st century fabrics that they've created for athletes who compete in the Olympics.
Yes.
That you pay attention to what they're wearing. They're not wearing a flannel shirt. I can tell you that.
When I lived in Indiana, I was a Boy Scout, and they used to make us if it snowed outside and we were outside, they would make us come in and change before we went to bed. I always thought that was weird.
No, now you know why.
Now I know why, yeah.
Don't turn off your heat in your home. Turning off the heat during the day is not the best way to conserve energy. That's what they're saying. Exercising outdoors is safe. Exercising outdoors is safe in the winter, provided you take proper precautions. What are they talking about? You're not going to be doing any exercise at 30 below. I don't agree with that one. 877.
I know somebody's daughter who's still running right now.
No, she doesn't run outside. He's referring to my daughter, Kim. He's referring to the smarter Dr. Garko. No, she runs inside. We'll be back. We'll tell you more. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. Talk Nutrition, this 2019 winter edition of LTN. We're in the grips of it, too. Polar vortex, we described that, explained it, talked about 21 people. Now, there are 21 fatalities associated with this polar vortex that has hit the upper Midwest, Northeast. Terrible. People frozen to death. Now, you may be wondering, how does that happen? Okay. How does what needs to happen for someone to freeze to death? You may think that death from cold can happen even if the body isn't literally frozen. Now, let me explain. It deals with your core temperature. A person's core body temperature is somewhere around 98.6, give or take, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Hypothermia, hypo means, hyper means more, hypo means less, hypothermia occurs when the core body temperature drops to about 95 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Now you say from 98.6 to 95 isn't all that much. People can experience hypothermia in relatively cool but not freezing air temperatures around 30 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This is especially the case if they are wet, such as from rain, sweat, or they got submerged in cold water, for example. You go to the National Weather Service, they have some information on this concept, on how people freeze to death. The body loses heat about 25 times quicker in water than it does in air. Hypothermia at these relatively cold temperatures is unusual, but it can happen in cool temperatures. In the weather that we're talking about, below zero, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50 minus degrees, hypothermia happens within minutes. That boy at the University of Iowa I guess he was walking across the campus from where he was to where he was going. It was 5 minutes or 6 minutes. He didn't make it. Gerald Bells, if my memory serves me, is his name. Nice-looking young man. Temperatures that are sub-zero, that's a different meteorological issue altogether. At minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, a healthy person who isn't properly dressed for the cold could experience I said minutes. How about as little as 10 minutes? At minus 40 to 50, 5 to 7 minutes. So it's all about the core body temperature. Break it into two